Bitcoin itself is a hyped up fraud. It's a pet rock.
You're back to that?
Yeah,
really?
Of course, yeah.
But it has all the characteristics of a store of value. It's immutable. It's scarce.
Totally untrue. It's
21 million.
Well, yeah, really. How do you know it's going to stop at 21 million?
Because
I've mentioned this to people.
Satoshi.
Everyone says that. Well, maybe it's going to get to 21 million, and then Satoshi's picture is going to come up and laugh at you all and say, "No,
no."
Was that a current one?
Yeah, that was current. Yeah.
Okay, so the irony of that is J.P. Morgan, which Jamie Dimon works for, probably family of. I don't know how it all goes together, but is involved all those CBDC things that I was talking to you about the multiple CBDC exchanges that are being built right now. They've got their hands in at least two different that I could find information on the one from Project Dunbar, and they were involved. Are they involved in the M Bridge?
Yeah, well, he's been buying.
Yes.
For years, but he talks crap.
Well, you guys stay away from that stuff.
He talks crap to lower the price, and then he did the first time.
And then he swoops it up.
Bought, yeah.
But once again, he doesn't think that. Remember the comment about, oh, that's retail. I can't remember what platform that was on, but it may have been a SEC thing. I can't remember, but there were a bunch of them. And
but the problem, Lisa, is that he was just on CNBC. He said absolute ridiculous lies, and nobody called him on it. The one guy is like, well, what do you mean? It's got this store value and it's cool.
And then he said, okay, well, maybe Satoshi's going to show up. Even if Satoshi showed up.
How do you know?
Again, it doesn't mean that there will ever be any more.
It's only going to be 21 million. How do you know that? How do you know it's not going to hit 20 million? And then Satoshi,
so what would you have said? What would your answer have been?
Oh, because I know that because it's coded and it's immutable. He said it. He said it's immutable.
It's like a law. Immutable.
It's immutable.
Unchangeable.
You know what that means? It means you can't change it, and it's written this way. Mm-hmm. That's how I know. It's just, but nobody says that. They laugh, and people who know nothing about nothing are like, yeah, I didn't think of that. That's right. Yeah, you don't know what computers. Mm-hmm. It's like magic. It's like watching It's like watching.
But it's the difference. It's actually nothing like magic. It's the difference between magic and math.
Yeah.
That's
technology can look like magic. Let me see here. Hi. Cats respond to oh my god.
She must be a cat person.
I'm not a cat person.
We love Silver Gem. She's a sweet friend.
Cats. I wasn't going to get a cat. My dog passed away, and I was going to get a cat.
Oh, but you got a dog.
No.
You got another dog. Oh,
Ted
got a dog. I didn't realize that was Ted's dog.
Neither did we when we got her. But she's a nice dog, and she likes us and loves us.
She tolerates you.
But she is
Ted's dog.
Aw,
that's sweet.
Yeah.
My mom has that right now. My brother-in-law who passed away, he left this. It's a rescue that they got. It was supposed to be for the kids, but this dog just was his dog. I mean, slept with him, like was with him out in the garage all the time, like always by his side. And so now it's become my mother's dog. And it's like this big pit bull mix, whatever, kind of scary looking. Anyway, she's actually very sweet, but it's interesting to see how dogs pick their people,
Yeah. Well, like they left. Ted Now's left So just me and the dog. I'm like, okay, so now the dog's fine. You hang out with me. She like was freaking out a little bit after they left. Then she like came, I pet
She's
her,
like, all
and then
right, I'm
went
stuck
and
with you.
waited in their room for him to come back.
Wow.
Seriously, yeah. She came out every now and then, check on me. Or I'll call her, she'll come. She's she's a very good dog.
Yeah,
But no, totally, absolutely Ted's dog.
that's sweet.
Unless
That's
when
nice.
we're eating though, she comes and sits right by me.
So you must be the messy one.
I feed her. I feed her all the time,
Oh no,
and
that's terrible.
she was she's getting comfortable because we didn't hear her bark until today.
Wow.
It was weird. She never very just not timid, but just like polite. It's weird. And I told you when I ordered the food, when they came and were delivering it, she growled and barked, and we were all like, what is that noise?" And then we're like making fun of her and laughing. We're like, "Look at you! You're barking and growling. What are you doing?"
Because she just doesn't make a sound.
No, but I think she's so comfortable now. She wouldn't eat. Like you had
Oh
to
yeah.
watch her. And if you're looking at her and she ate and like you're not yelling at her, she's like, "Okay, I'll eat." But if you walked out of the room, she wouldn't touch the food.
Because she's afraid that she might get punished
I
for
guess.
it. She
Yeah.
doesn't know if it's okay or
Yeah.
whatever.
So she was just unsure, but she wasn't like scared or anything. It wasn't like I think she's been like beaten. I think it just was. She's
She
very
may have been around other dogs that were food aggressive or something.
no, because then you
No?
put food in front of her, she would just eat it all. And and she she doesn't drink. She'll like go and get a drink and then leave. Like any dog I've ever seen, they like drink until it's gone or they're like they drank a lot. She'll just casually walk by and like take a sip. She's just so
It has all these little quirks.
such a chill dog. It's very, very just a good dog. Like her.
Well, that's cool. I like that.
Hey,
I'm glad for you guys. We're gonna start looking for a puppy. Our little puppy passed away a year ago on Thanksgiving, so it's been a little over a year. And I'm ready to have another puppy, another dog. I'm not thrilled about the puppy stage, however.
Yeah, me neither. And that's one thing about the Loro. She's, microchipped and all. And I told you Dax was so old that she was like one of the first dogs to get microchipped. And they couldn't have any information on them, But this dog has pictures of herself on her microchip.
Oh
like
wow!
her name, history, all that. And Ted called up the company, and they normally can't tell you stuff, but because like they had she was at the pound and they had reached out trying to get the people for so long that it's all documented that it was that they're abandoned. So they sent them a picture and they told them like her exact birthday and everything, so we know like all that information now. Which the thing about Dax, we got her at the pound. They said we think she's like a year old. We didn't really know anything, but we had her 19 and a half years. So.
I was gonna say I saw a post the other day about the world's oldest dog, and I want to say it was like 23. So Dax was like right, and Dax could have been older than a year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, she was
right up there.
She was
and my mom had a dog
in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom had a dog that lived her last one before this one, the little tiny, the meanest thing you ever met. She lived to be over 18 years or 19 years. She was, crazy stuff, but crazy stuff.
All right.
Oh, you said you want to talk about China.
I do want to talk about China. I did want to say something about
what's going on.
About that and I still can't get things to play sound on my side, so that's frustrating for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
send it to me in private chat, and I'll do the share
and
thing if you want me to.
I will. So I do want to talk about the Justice Department and the Google whatchamacallit, the lawsuit. You know what I'm talking about? You sent it to me?
Was it the latest thing where they?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on.
The latest thing. That's funny because I read this. The more I looked into it, it's the second time they've done this before, and it's a.
Justice Department files antitrust lawsuit against Google for allegedly monopolizing digital ads. Just the news.
So this.
Oh, which thing am I on? Hold on, I have too many.
I can send this to you so you can play it. But basically, he says the Justice Department on Tuesday filed an antitrust lawsuit against Google for monopolizing blah, 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 right? This is the next one. Here. So he said that the Justice Department alleges that they did this, they did that, criminally did this, that they criminally did that, and they criminally did this. I watched another video where it was like the full conference.
Mm-hmm.
He used the word criminally like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, you have it up. Okay.
And then he said in the beginning they're filing a civil suit against them. And then I did some more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I did some more looking into it, and they already did this 2 years ago. It worked so well they're having to do it again, but they're not bringing any criminal charges against them. So basically, they're like, "Hey, Google, you have lots of money. You have most of the money. We would like some of the money. We're gonna take some of the money from you, and you keep doing what you're doing. We'll hit you up in 2 years again, right?"
Well, same thing they do with Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, when they, get in trouble for manipulating the markets, all that stuff. They get a swat on the hand, but they made billions of dollars.
Yeah, everybody bitches about billionaires don't pay taxes. They just pay this is their taxes.
Yeah,
and they get to do illegal shit. Yeah, but I thought this is just bread and circus. This is for the rubes, and we're all rubes. You're a rube. I'm a rube because we're not doing anything about it. We're letting it happen. But they're like, hey, look, we're doing something. The system works. Yay, Google's going to court. It doesn't matter, But
it's just to get, which they could file criminal charges. They are the DOJ.
They literally
bring criminal charges. That's their job.
They literally said they criminally did this. They did this criminally. They used the word criminally, and then they're filing
civil actions.
I think that whenever we do burn everything down, everything falls apart, everyone dies, we start over, we have to make things by case or a percentage. Like if you run a stop sign and you make minimum wage, I think your ticket should be whatever. But if you're a doctor and you run a stop sign, I think your ticket should be more. I think it's because if
that's taxes, though, that's taking from your income, which is actually against the Constitution.
Hold on. But what you're just saying is what I agree. You're saying that taxation is a punishment. I'm saying it should be used in a punishment because basically you're saying, hey, you ran that stop sign, citizen. I'm going to take 1/4 of your income. Oh, doctor, you ran that stop sign. I'm going to take 5 minutes of your income. The doctor doesn't give a crap. It's not a punishment. You understand?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I think it makes sense. But when it comes to corporations, literally, like you said, it's just I can do this and make $3 million and pay $500,000 in fines.
Right.
That's good.
And it is just a pay to play. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember this friend of mine told me that she dated this dude, super rich, and they were in the park, and there was this part of the park where you can't like go onto the grass and stuff, or you get a fine. And she's like, "Oh, they're going for a picnic." She said, "Oh, I wish we could go over there." He goes, "Okay, let's go over there, have a picnic." She's like, "No, you can't." And he said, "No, it just cost $50 to go eat over there." And that's the way he thought of it, because you got a ticket for $50. But to him, that's just
the price.
That's
the
the
pay
price.
to play.
The pay to
Yeah.
pay to use it. So it is it's a weird way of thinking.
That is a weird way of thinking, but I get your.
That's how much it costs. That's and then
thought
these
on
people,
it.
we can kill them because they can't afford to use.
Well, that's like in Mexico, or we used to go to Mexico, and we had built these friendships there, and Charlie always, try to, if they, did a great job for us that week, then we always try to leave a big tip and whatever. And so then we built friendships over the years, and then they would show us like, oh, look, here's where, and I had enough money to pay off the building inspector or the guy at the city or whatever to be able to add on to my home so my mom could come live with me or whatever. And we're like, you did what? But that to me is almost a more honest way of doing business. I mean, at least it's out there, than this, oh, well, somebody that you supposedly put in office to represent you is supposed to be representing your local areas, ideas, thoughts, wants, wishes. And instead we get these rules placed on us that I don't think any of us wanted. I don't know too many people that are on board with a lot of the things that are shoved down our throats.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So I want to make an announcement. I talked about this on the crypto meme review that I did on Saturday or Sunday. But I sent you a link in the private chat. Can you bring that up?
Mm-hmm.
So you can play it. So I am feeling a lot better, actually.
Good. I'm so glad.
Yeah, my back was really hurt.
Oh yeah, you were miserable last week.
It was pretty bad, yeah. You got the link?
No, I mean I do. Yes. Hold on. I got distracted.
I'm working on a song. I wrote the song already.
I don't think this is the right link. Is it Rolling Blue?
Yeah, Rolling Blue. That's it.
Okay, that's not what you have. Okay. Never mind. It's not what I expected to see.
What, nibbles?
No, I'm saying like I thought you were going to show this little girl that's missing in China. That's what I was looking at on your screen. And so then this guy shows up. I'm like,
so is Joey Calico. Go to popular. Click popular there.
Pop. Where do you think it says popular?
Under the word videos.
Oh, okay.
Yes, okay. So I'm working with Joey Calico to do the song. I wrote the song. I thought he was going to clean it up, maybe, but he said it was good. And then I think he's going to. He's really huge on TikTok, like massive.
Awesome.
Criminally low.
Seems like he's doing important work.
Yeah, click on the butt one. It's butter. So he does parody songs, amazing parody songs. Turn it up.
Oh, Lord.
This is from Danzig's mother.
It's from what?
Danzig, mother.
Yeah.
We all live inside a butter world. Oh, butter.
Oh my gosh.
He's like he's like Jack Black, the old Jack Black. It's hilarious. I put a link down in the description. You can go check out his stuff.
That's hilarious. My child would love it.
He is all of these. I love the HCBC ones. The last week was BLT.
Oh my gosh!
Instead of TNT, it was BLT.
Whoops.
It is. He's anyway. He's really talented. Band's really good. As band Rolling Blue. But so I wrote a Bitcoin parody song, and hopefully he's going to be able to do that, and then we'll show it on my channel.
Good. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it should be pretty
Bitcoin parody song. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yes, it will.
That will be
it was my community that came up with the idea. It's a Rammstein Du hast, and it's Du hast Bitcoin. So I wrote the song. And he's going to sing it hopefully, and it'd be pretty cool. Looking forward to it.
Good. That looks like something positive, something to look forward to.
Yeah, May 11th, JDO. It's going to be over on May 11th, unless something happens on May 10th. And the Pfizer stuff.
Oh, are you talking about Biden's new announcement to end it?
Yeah, I think that we've lived through, just in the past 5 years, so many things that would have. Okay, look at Watergate. Yeah. Watergate is inconsequential compared to 100 things that have happened in the past 5 years. Mm-hmm. It is nothing. And the whole world should shut down on what Veritas just showed us. Mm-hmm. It should be, people should be, people should be hung. People should be, okay, I understand that somebody gets killed and it's terrible. And if the police do it, it's bad. But the amount of anger and violence that comes out of that, why do people not see what government?
I can't believe there's still commercials for the damn things. Yeah, I am shocked. I'm like, what have you not heard?
It's like a clown world. If you don't follow that, follow them on Twitter. We're living in a clown world. It doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So, but now let me get to China. So about China, and you made the comment that
I swear you remember everything I say.
90% of all of our medications come from basically China. They're outsourced.
They're manufactured there. They're sourced from India.
They're not sourced from
mostly.
Here. We don't have anything. Yeah. We have stopped. We stopped becoming a nation of producers. We don't produce shit anymore. Mm-hmm. And when we did produce stuff, and Steve Bannon made this point, it was so frustrating because he's just all media. They're calling them talking heads isn't even. It's like it's not. They're not even that anymore, and they're a waste. So he was like talking about economics. He was like pounding the word economics, and he's like, we need to bring America back, to its glory days of like the 50s and the 60s, especially the 50s. And but she was like, yeah, you want to bring back slavery in the 50s and white people drinking and fountain and black people. And he's like, I said
that is not what I said. Yeah.
Like 9 times. I said it was the economics golden age. America was producing everything, and then she kept trying to steer it. It's like that's all they want to talk about. That's all they know is some kind of social justice bullshit. It's like that's real life to them, and it's not.
Did I share with you? I don't. Go ahead and finish your thought on that, and then
here's what I
wanted to ask you about.
I think we're going to go to war with China. I think the thing that has scared the puppet masters and the chess players the most is the United States and Russia being buddies, and because that nothing could stop that period ever. Mm-hmm. With the CBDC thing, if there is an economic warfare and they go after the dollar, it's basically the U.S. and Europe against the world. And it's going to be messy. But for all of time, all of time, forces have tried to keep us and Russia from becoming close allies. The only thing that happened was during World War II, it was like, and it was over, like literally like the day the war is over, we're done. The wall starts going up, and then we became, super mortal enemies. But if we were to come together, there's nothing. There's so much of the money that we spend and our resources and our effort goes into fighting one another or preparing to fight one another or spying on one another. Can you imagine how much further we would be as a species if we were working together? We'd be on Mars already.
No, for sure.
If
there wasn't an us and a them.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about the they. I'm just talking about a us and a them, all of us.
So I don't know if you know this, but China has built 7 islands, big man-made islands, without permission of countries in other countries' territories. And they're not putting up, hotels. They're airstrips, military bases.
They're military bases.
Yeah, they're ports for Navy ships. And
I had heard that China owns a port in California.
And that's another thing. They have military. I was talking about that like 5 years ago.
It's been a long time. Yeah. I think you were the one that told me about it.
They
ago.
And it's bananas. It's like that that thing I was just talking about where the governor of New Jersey said the ridiculous thing.
Oh, you just made me hungry.
Yeah. So they say, hey, there's these Chinese dissidents that run away from China because they're going to get killed. And I forget the name of it. Was Project Fox Hunt. That's what they did. So they have this initiative in China for years where if you talk about China or you're talk shit about China, no, fuck that. Talk about China. I'm tired of giving people passes and say, not the people, it's the government. You live there, fix it or die. So they'll go to your country and take you. They'll go to your country and assassinate you. So Project Fox Hunt was to go and take any kind of enemies of China, bring them to China and punish them.
Outside of China?
Yeah, and they're in different countries.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So there's all these people that were, back in the 80s and 90s, they got out of China, they're dissidents. So China would this was the excuse. They would say, hey, there's a lot of Chinese citizens in your country. We're worried about them facing backlash and racism. So we would like to have where there's high concentrations of Chinese, former Chinese citizens. We would want to send police just to be able to, liaison with your police and be able to help blah, blah, blah. So especially in South Africa, but these people are there because they got away from China.
Right.
They ran away from China. So the whole excuse is stupid, but then they open up a police force, a police department, but it's military. Everything's military when it comes to, China. But yeah, they have military forces that they're, air quotes, police force all over different countries. But anyway, they built these islands. You can look up these man-made islands that they've been building in the past few years in the South China Sea and other places. So they're and they don't care about other countries' laws. Like they'll fish in Japanese waters. Their Navy ships will go out with a fishing fleet, and they've had I think they've had a couple shooting altercations now with Japan, just in the past few weeks. So things are really, really bad, really, really tense. But China is a kind of a paper tiger, like we've seen with Ukraine.
Really?
Russia's is terrible. One Russian soldier is probably worth 5 U.S. soldiers. They fight bears. They're crazy, blah, blah. And we see that's not the case. So they started to do, China always says, and they've said for like 100 years, that they're going to take Taiwan by force and bring it back to the fold, back under Chinese, rule. It's not like a secret. They put it out there. Yeah, I wasn't going to bring this up, JDO, because I know a lot of Chinese people that I worked with, and they're all in Canada. Canada's like so many Chinese people in Canada. Very, very wealthy. They're doing like great there. But I didn't know if Canada actually let them have the police there, the cultural transition personnel. Yeah, if they're in Canada, that's
so. If you call them you call them whatever you want, but they're there, and that's what they're to do. They're doing.
So so China has always said, "Hey, we could go take Taiwan like in a day. If we want to. It's not we're China, you're Taiwan. No one can stop us. We're just not doing it because we don't want to." But things are starting to get out that they would actually lose. They couldn't take Taiwan. People would die, but China would be hurt massively. And if anything happens, China's an economic powerhouse, but they're only an economic powerhouse because we allow it. If anything happened, like Russia, we were talking about sanctions. We've been beating the crap out of Russia forever, and they're still doing quite well.
Mm-hmm.
If we punch China in the nose, they would go down. If we interrupted trade just a little bit, they would crumble. But if it was war, and like all trade was halted with them, if we had to move to being a productive economy again, if we had to become producers again, there's no way they could survive at all. So they definitely couldn't survive a sustained conflict.
I think that's where we are going, though.
I think we are too. Conflict. Yeah, we're going to conflict.
No. Being manufacturing our own stuff again. I think that's part of the food thing that they're trying to point out to everybody.
I don't think so.
I think all of
I think we are, but I don't think we are. I think we're going to get there, but I don't think we're headed there. I think we're going to be forced to go there. I think we're starting to see the ramifications of not being one, and that's what's going to force us to do it. I don't think it's going to be like, hey, it's a good idea, we should do this.
No. I don't know I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not talking about motivation. I'm just saying I think that's the direction that we're going. I think that's where these big manufacturing places that are being set up. The one in Oklahoma. There's also a bunch of space aeronautics stuff coming in Oklahoma. There's just a lot of things that make me think that that's kind of in the works.
So there was a couple think tanks that ran some simulations, and China loses every time, really bad. But they're poised right now to with these islands that they've built to attack several different countries. It's insane. But one of the big problems is, the cult of personality, and when you look at Hitler and China, it's usually a small group of people that are screwing up the country. But what I've been researching about China is that it's not a small group of people. It's a huge, the whole Communist Party has drank this Kool-Aid, where they all believe that they'll believe the rhetoric. It's not like the Soviet Union was, So the big protests that happened, a few weeks or months ago with the white pieces of paper.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It was this huge protest that we hadn't seen since, 89.
In China. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like in 89, it was it was really students that stood up, and it was like 1 million people. It was insane. It was huge. And they just wanted like basic freedoms.
Right.
And it's the one in Tiananmen Square where the
Yeah.
guys
They
took
ran
front of
over
the
him.
tank and all that.
Yeah.
And they killed them all. They mowed them down with machine guns. They crushed them. And the Ping now, they wanted to make it so that this could never happen again. And like I said, they've all taken their own Kool-Aid. Like they don't understand. Like their people wouldn't do that. So if there is any kind of uprising, literally it's like CNN. What the propaganda they put, but they all believe it. It's like, oh, it's the West. Oh, the United States is engineering this. And then, but like with the white paper people, they were being said, oh, this is all set up by the West. This is all a coordinated effort. But then they were chanting, we have no internet access. You control all the internet and all the information. How could they coordinate anything like that? So it worked though. They ended the lockdowns. The protesters got what they wanted. It was all quiet. Everyone patted China on the back. But all those protesters, the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, they're gone.
Really?
They're gone. Yeah. There's this video here.
So if you were caught protesting, or if there's proof of you protesting,
it's proof.
They've all been picked up or whatever.
Proof? We're talking about China.
Well,
there doesn't need to be proof.
If they found them.
So this is something that is actually in the news because it's not being covered anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
This woman, she made this video, and she's a student, and she said, she gave it to friends of hers, and it basically says, hey, if you're watching this video, they came for me and they took me.
Oh my God.
They've taken my friends. They're going to kill us. They're going to disappear us. She says they disappear us. And that's actually out now. It's being reported a little bit. So there's this, I don't know if you've ever watched ADV China, great channel. Mm-hmm. And this other guy up here. So these two guys lived in China, Lao Wai 86. They lived in China for a long time. One guy married a Chinese woman as a doctor. They had huge YouTube channels on like life in China and, dude, this is weird and, that kind of thing. And then they got out of China and moved out of China like a couple of years ago. And then they start telling all the crazy truths about China, the Chinese government. Mm-hmm. So they do like really, really great for like information and stuff. You should check out their channels. Yeah, I put a link below to this guy's video. So this video he just did, because of this girl's video, he said that him and his friend wanted to check on, check this out. So they lived in China for like decades plus. So they got a hold of tons and tons of their friends. And it's like, and tons of their friends like, oh yeah, I know tons and tons of people that were in, with the protest. Like me and you, we know some people that went to the January 6th thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Imagine if everyone that we know went to January 6th just disappeared.
Is missing. Yeah, that would be terrifying.
So they reached out to all these people. I mean, like
some visits,
like the giant number of people, right? And then those people said, we know tons of people that were involved and were there. Yeah, we'll see what they're doing. Guess how many people got back with them?
Zero. Wow.
Not one person out of probably hundreds of friends. Not, like not like a news agency trying to. This is like, hey, I'm asking my buddy who knew 5 people that went. Mm-hmm. Nobody. Nobody. They're all gone.
Wow.
And that's scary. And that's not being what I thought I'll
Yes,
send
you'll
this to you.
see. I know that I've seen reports that they do. And I've heard reports from people that had to work in the work camp
I
for
sent you-
however long as a punishment. And
I
then,
sent you the link. You can play it. And then,
okay.
But we have our own Department of Justice or State Department now admitting that and I've been talking about that genocide for 3 years. Like a year or 2 years ago, I did a whole video on the internment camps, how they've grown just from satellite photos.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Interesting.
just show, and they're so it's so bad. It's so bad. You can play it.
Okay.
The dark truth of what happened. You all know what happened a little while back in November of 2022. But what happened to the protesters? Where did they go? Did they simply just get away with calling for the Chinese government and Xi Jinping to step down? It certainly seems that way, especially with all the lack of coverage out there. But no, they did not get away with anything. In fact, the truth is far darker than most people expected. China experienced the biggest protests it had ever had since 1989. As you remember, and if you don't, I certainly hope you learned it in school, but in 1989, 1 million Chinese people,
Put
students to be
JDO's comment
exact,
up there.
rose up to ask the Communist Party of China for freedom and democracy. We all know the outcome of that uprising. They were crushed. They were murdered. They were killed in cold blood at the command of Deng Xiaoping, China's leader of the Communist Party of China at the time, and the People's Liberation Army with the guns in hand. China was scared into absolute darkness from then on. Although things progressed economically, no large protests since then formed to stand up to the tyranny of the Communist Party of China again. The crackdown on dissidents spread across the nation and even globally, with campaigns like Operation Fox Hunt to catch anyone saying anything bad about the Chinese government, even abroad. Not only did China watch its freedom rating plummet to the bottom of the world rankings, it went into absolute free fall under Xi Jinping, who took power in 2012. But really cracked down around 2017 or so, when he made sure that this Tiananmen type of event in support of democracy in China would never happen again, especially under his watch. A surveillance state of the most supreme intensity was born. Think of 1984, think of all that kind of dystopian end of the world nonsense media that you see, and that's China now. Every single citizen would be tracked with every single action they take, whether it be where they go, who they talk to, what they buy. Everything could potentially be monitored and tracked by the Chinese government. But that all changed real fast in 2022 after the Chinese government subjugated its citizens to years of horrific lockdowns and cut them off from the...
Okay.
So you can go to like 7 minutes now. Go to the 7-minute part. But I forgot what I was gonna say. But this.
You want it where the girl does the video?
No, you can go to 7 minutes. I told you about what you said. Basically, it's just if I'm making this because they took me.
不想凭空被消失，希望大家救助我们，不要让我们不清不楚的消失在这个世界上，不要让我们随意的被带走或者被定罪。
It gets much worse. After reaching out to people who I knew were at least near the protests, I had them attempt to reach out to people that they absolutely were 100% sure participated in said protests. I expected at least one response. Silence. Every single person that I asked from multiple areas of China answered with confidence that they could reach out to some friends or classmates that they knew had protested and get a response from them. But guess what? Not even one person that participated directly in the protests returned their messages. And some even had their Weibo and WeChat accounts completely removed. The protesters who held up the blank pieces of paper arbitrarily detained. Think about this. Some kids holding up blank pieces of paper got thrown in jail. The classic Chinese law, 徇信滋事, picking quarrels and provoking trouble, had people snatched and put away for holding up a frickin' piece of paper. Organizers and leaders of small protests, these people are gone. China used cell phone data and other methods of tracking to find every last person who showed up to these protests. We had people tell us that they were picked up and questioned just for living near the protests or simply being remotely close to them because they were doing some shopping or just passing through the area. What we witnessed was the Chinese government having its cake and eating it too. It let the rest of the world believe that the protesters in China had their voices heard.
So with the new surveillance state, we saw this, and I talked about how bad it was in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more violence in the streets, man. What happened in the United States is that there was two different classes. There was, minorities, black people specifically, were treated very badly, especially in the South. And being in the North, we didn't know that. We really didn't know that until TV. And then when people that and young people that learned about civics in civics class in high school saw injustice happening in their own country, they said that has to stop. That's not allowed. And we fixed it.
Stop teaching civics.
Well, we fixed it. The civil rights movement happened, and we fixed it. So now, like you said, they stopped teaching civics class and teach government. But there used to be protests, trouble, dissension, and then it would be met with force by the government, quelled. Because if not, then they could go meet quietly in pubs and whatnot. And we know what happens when that happens, the birth of a nation, the United States. But it didn't happen that way anymore. I talked about when everything was going on in Canada, how the police were just going up to coffee shops and going around with cell phones and taking pictures. And it was all facial recognition, all this surveillance tech that China China just admits to using, but we use it too. But
we know that we're under it. Yeah,
we use it, but we're the good guys. Those are the bad guys. So
well, anytime a government is weaponizing anything against its own people,
and that's what Canada did. Canada stopped everyone's banking. They took away their livelihood. It's just the next step is what China's.
And it's happened here as well. I mean, a lot of conservative people have been unbanked, whether that's Patrick Byrne or, oh my gosh, I mean, didn't they do that to Flynn too? There's several people that they've done that to.
But there is no more. You don't get to see it anymore. You don't get to see it on TV anymore. It's not going to be on the news. It's not, a bunch of cops with, German Shepherds and motorcycle helmets on like it was in the 60s. That's not it anymore.
More of the reason, like you mentioned earlier.
Have your talk. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, okay. And then the next day they come and take you away. Or they turn off your banking. But what's the next step is, like he said, China got to have their cake and eat it too. They we shut down the lockdowns and the protesters. we're great. Yeah, we're turning over a new leaf. And then they just went and picked them all up. Whether they kill them, it's China. And
Yeah, most likely they're in a work camp. Hopefully they're not, haven't been ended. I don't know. Maybe they were.
that's insane that
being
they didn't know about Tiananmen Square and their Chinese.
Yeah, that's why I was like, put that up there. But that makes so much sense, because if you control, that's what we've been saying. If you can control history or control the narrative, then you create the false history.
I am for I am. Is that not the life we've lived? Is that not what we are? I mean, is there a difference between us and Europe?
Is China's Europe?
Europe's
future.
Europe used to go as we went, and they have. Europe is a lot more Americanized in the past 40 years, 50 years. But now, in the past 10, 15 years, America is a lot more Europeanized. And we're all becoming more Chinese-y. It's a terrible word, but we are. We're moving towards, and it does to any kind of bureaucrat. They look at China as such an easy way to get things done, and they would do it right. They would do it, for good. They just need the power to take care of people, and they're going to do it right. They're not going to be like China. We're not going to, kill people no. We just want the control, keep people safe. But you have to have freedom. Freedom is paramount. Would you rather have safety or freedom? It's freedom.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's why that statement by Blinken today, I thought was, that we shared earlier on my channel, that was so powerful. If you watch the whole thing, I need to go put a link to it in the description of my video, but he literally states the First Amendment and then says, they mention China, the Uyghurs, they mention a couple other places. I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but anyway, but he says that, the U.S. supports freedom for all, and the First Amendment rights for all, for everyone on this earth. So I thought it was pretty bold. What does that say?
Good, Grigazoo. I think so many people, but people are liars, man. People are liars. People lie to themselves more than anything else. They'll take it from my cold dead hands. It's not true, with the red flag laws. So many people they gave their guns for no reason. I know that I want to die. It's like
yes, we all are.
No, but if they came here and we're like, we're here to take all your guns,
mm-hmm.
that I'm gonna die, and I know, especially even saying that, definitely because of he said that don't give him a chance, but Trump said the most powerful thing that most powerful thing I can remember him saying is that we are not a country of refugees.
Yeah, I remember.
If we have a problem or something's wrong, we fix it or die. And I remember growing up, I never understood refugees. As a child, they're like, oh, these people, there's a war here, there's this, and they're all leaving. And it sounds sexist now, I guess, but I'm like, I understand those kids, and but why are the men leaving? It's like, oh, they're all fleeing their country. And to me, I was like, why? That's not a choice. you die. That's your choice. And if it's bad, but
if you think that you don't have a voice in what's supposed to be your country, if your country is no longer your country,
I think also
then
the
I
biggest
could
deterrent.
see
That's the
that.
biggest deterrent. If would-be dictators and tyrants knew that those people wouldn't flee, that they wouldn't, if like anything you do, people will stand their ground and fight for. But a lot of those countries didn't have the same thing we did. They didn't have ownership of their own property. They didn't have a
We
life
don't own
that
our
we
own
did.
property.
So they didn't have reason, and
Mhm.
and that's why even when a refugee would come to the United States, here they change. Here they know this is the last stop. There is nowhere to run from here. Here we stand our ground. And if you change the basic idea of the United States, you're going to lose that. I think we've gotten so far away from what we're supposed to be. We've gotten so far away from our roots of
Yeah, because when you made the statement of, they don't own their own property, you don't even own your car, even if you pay it off. When you buy a car, you send the original title to the state, and the state owns your car. You get use of it and can pay it off and might have the equity in it. But the ownership of that vehicle is the state's property. It's the same thing as your house. It's the same reason that they can, why can they go impound your car if you don't pay your title tax, whatever, every year? Well, because it's really their property. And that's,
and JDO, it's like
wild to think about.
90% of all sheriffs said that they're not going to enforce that law. 90%. And police have. We're talking about qualified immunity. Qualified immunity, what police have. Police have qualified immunity means that they can't be sued. You can't mess with them as long as they don't break certain rules. They have to keep that qualified immunity. And a lot of times with like Second
I didn't know
Amendment,
there were rules associated with that.
that's what the qualified means. So
Okay.
like this Second Amendment auditors, they'll go out there carrying like an AR-15. He's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, nothing, just walking." Like, "What do you have the AR-15 for?" "Well, I'm an American." I'm like, "What are you doing? Let me see your ID." "No, I'm not going to give you my ID. I'm going to arrest you for failure to ID. What crime am I being? What crime am I suspected of doing? You're walking around town with an AR-15. Yeah, that's my Second Amendment right. I'm on public property. What crime am I being accused of? They're like, "Look, man, let me see your ID or I'm going to arrest you." And as soon as the cop arrests him, they've lost qualified immunity because they've just violated his civil rights. They didn't have a reason to arrest him. Now, once they failure to ID is a secondary offense. That means if I punch you in the face, I've broken a crime. I'm under arrest. Now,
Yeah, but there's an injured party there.
even if there wasn't, even if but I break the law. If I'm under arrest and I fail to ID, it's a secondary offense. I have to have a first offense to get a secondary offense.
I see what you're saying.
You can't give me a secondary offense when there's no first offense. So you don't have to show your ID. So that's what. So, but once they do that, they broke the qualified immunity, or there's lots of things that an officer could do, or a EMT. If they do certain things, they lose their qualified immunity, and you can sue them. But what you were talking about, the sovereign immunity, which I'd never heard of, completely different. That is one of the most un-American things I've ever heard of in my entire life.
And all of our politicians are protected by it.
Yeah. But see, the system's really fucked up.
Yes.
Because one of them is the ones that has to take it to the Supreme Court to fix.
Yeah.
So
It's like asking a drug addict to heal themselves, I guess, or
yeah, or hey, I'm trying to kick heroin. Can you help me as a meth head?
yeah, or ask your drug dealer to help you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to go very well. It's going to be interesting. It continues to be interesting. I mean, more and more things are happening, and people have opportunities to make choices with their energy right now.
The JDO, in a perfect world, should be able to call the sheriff when the state police.
Yeah.
And
because
I thought that's how things are going to go. I thought it's going to be good cop versus bad cop. I thought it's going to be, good military versus order. And that's what I was saying. People talk about, the military is.
there was something the other day about Durham.
They're not gonna follow. Or military follows orders, dude. Why do you think they wouldn't? What part of history have you seen where a tyrannical government made a tyrannical ruling and the police and the military just said, no way? They fall in line, man. The people have to stand up. It's not everyone talks about stuff like it's going to be like, oh, this wouldn't work. It's worked all through history. There's nothing different here. We want to talk about money? We something different now. We got cryptocurrency. But when it comes to the path that we're on, it's happened before. And if we don't learn from history and learn this is what happens, then it's just going to happen again.
Keep repeating. Yeah. Jay Chains, I think, is in Crypto's Chain. Yeah. Jay Chains is in the chat and he's asking the topic. So we were talking about, we went off on a whole. We've been having a conversation about sovereign immunity and qualified immunity and what's going on in the world. And then Sean had found, you should definitely, if you guys are just jumping in on this, go back and watch. Sean had a great chain of consciousness about the missing people after the protests in China.
Hey,
and had some interesting information.
Check out Crypto's Chain's channel too. He has a really good channel.
Yes.
No, we're talking about loss. We're talking about China. We're talking about tyranny. We're talking about freedom, and we're talking about the path that the United States is going down. The world is going down. The world is going down. And I think one of the biggest things is to keep us separated, which that I think no one talks about this. We don't talk about this. Is that was one of Trump's when he was running for office. That was one of the things he talked about that like blew people's minds. That were in the swamp. It's like, why wouldn't you want to be friends with Russia? Why? What negatives are there? Can you imagine the economic powerhouse would be trading with them, not having to worry about war and fighting?
Right.
Why wouldn't you want? And people are like, "Whoa, dude! No." I think that was one of the things that put a target on him early on, is that he was talking about doing that.
Well, look what happened after what Reagan was able to do, and the world changed. Of course, then they tried to kill him. But I think it's that same message. But if more of us will stand up and stand with them, when somebody's bold enough to make those statements and to look at it, it goes back to the whole "there's not a them and an us."
I am for I am. I want to say something here that I thought about. I keep saying we should do this, and when we rebuild, we should do this. Here's something we got to do. We have to do this now. If you commit a crime and you go to jail, you can't write a book about the crime and make money about it. You can't make money from committing evil, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know that BlackRock has gotten the contracts to rebuild Ukraine.
They were one of the big players in the FTX thing.
But there's massive, massive profits to be made in rebuilding after wars. I think that should be taken off the table. It should all be for cost. You can't make money. People can make money working for corporations, but economies can get bolstered from that. But no corporations can make any money. No profit, no backroom deals. If that was taken off the table, I bet you, what's the point in going to war? When it comes to that, that's the biggest part of the war machine.
I think backroom deals are not just the war machine, but that was when you're talking about, they're passing a Pelosi law about insider trading.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get some of these things cleared up.
But that's all peacetime. So I'm talking about
back deals.
like the collapse stuff. I think because it happens over and over and over again. And that's one of the biggest things. If you have a war, you kill some people, you curb the population, and then afterwards you have years of money making for corporations and rebuilding. And that, if you took that out of the equation, it wouldn't be worth it. It would not be. And they stopped Boris Yeltsin Boris Yeltsin went and stopped them from getting a peace treaty like months ago. Ukraine and Russia were about to end it.
Wow.
And now
I heard Zelensky was like, burning or hiding documents now. I guess they're finding him at Joe's place, and Zelensky's trying to get rid of him.
Endless wars. I think that we got to stop making war profitable. And once we do that, it will stop.
I agree with you. I agree.
All right. Well, we went all over long as usual. It was good hanging out with y'all. There's links below to that one video, and links below to Rolling Blue, Joey Calco.
Butter.
All right. Butter. Check out BLT. I will leave y'all with the hoo-hoo lady because she makes me laugh.
Like a flower or tree, I'll throw my head